morning. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we're the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
On Thursday, the peso closed at a new all-time low of 60 pesos and 10 centavos against the dollar.
Transport groups continue their strike for the second day as they demand higher subsidies amid rising fuel prices.
One teachers group calls for higher salaries and allowances as rising prices continue to strain household budgets.
All systems are go in Seoul, South Korea for the much-anticipated comeback of global supergroup BTS.
First in the news, the transport strike enters its second day with drivers and transport groups gathering in Mendiola to press for their demands amid rising fuel prices. For the latest Mobile Journal, Francis Rivera is reporting live on the ground. Francis, what's happening?
Good morning, Angela and Diego. Ngayon, andito tayo sa Mendiola at sa mga oras na to, actually wala pa sila dito at ito yung sitwasyon ngayon. So makikita natin wala pa halos na mga rallyista o yung mga tsuper na magsasagawa ng kilos protesta dito. Actually kasi sila ay ngayon ay kasalukuyang nasa Quezon City Welcome Rotonda at mamaya-maya ay magpamarcha sila papunta rito sa Mendiola kaya nakantapay tayo dito at actually nakausap natin yung mga kapulisan na naka-standby dito. Sabi nila sila ay naka-standby kung sakaling sa pagdating nila at handa naman daw sila kung sakali kung ano yung mangyari mamayang hapon.
Diyan sa area mo, meron ba mga kumbaga tulong yung government para nga dito maibsan yung kawalan ng ilang mga transportation dahil nga dito sa ongoing protest?
Yes, Angela. Actually ngayon ay tuloy-tuloy yung mga operasyon. Actually marami tayong nakikita ngayon ng mga jeepney na pumapasada at nakikita rin natin yung mga estudyante unlike kahapon, maraming mga university. Kasi dito, alam naman natin na U-Belt, so may marami rin mga university ang nagdeklara ng online, kung mag-shift sila sa online class. Pero ngayon, ang dami na rin natin nakikita mga estudyante. So, ngayon ay parang back to normal, at iniintay na nga lang natin kung ano pa yung magiging sitwasyon mamaya pagdating ng mga tsuper na magkikilos protesta dito sa Mendiola.
Well, kasi it's holiday, so I think wala talagang masyadong sasakyan and walang pasok ngayon. Aside from that, ano-anong mga grupo ang inaasahan natin na lalahok dito sa transport strike na ito?
Yes, Angela, kahapon nakausap natin yung mga ilan sa mga presidente ng transport group at isa na nga dyan na kinumpirma na nga ng grupong Piston, ng pakikilahok nila dito sa kilos protesta. Ika nga nila, talagang hindi na raw talaga makatarungan kasi yung tila pagtaas ng presyo ng diesel kung saan masakit para sa kanilang bulsa at wala na raw halos silang kinikita pagdating dito sa kanilang araw-araw. At tila ilang daan na nga lang yung kinikita nila kung dati nakakakuha pa sila ng 1,000. Ngayon, talagang pumapalo na lang ng 400 to 500 pesos ang nauuwi nila sa araw-araw. Kaya inaantay natin yung pagdating nitong grupong Piston at kabilang dyan yung grupong Piston at magsasagawa sila dito mamayang alauna ng programa dito sa harap ng Mendiola.
Francis, ilang araw ba ang plano nilang strike? Do they plan to extend this?
Yes, Angelo, actually kahapon sa isang interview ng meron nga silang ngayon, supposedly 2 araw, ngayong 2-day strike itong ginagawa nila simula kahapon at ngayon, At ngayon ay kahapon sa isang interview ay meron nga silang kumbaga meron silang agreement or meron silang hinihiling na kung sana ay taasan ng kung 5K, taasan sana ng 10K para doon sa mga traditional jeep at 15K para naman doon sa mga modern jeep. Pero kapag hindi daw nila o hindi daw tumugon ang pamahalaan dito, baka mag-declare pa sila ng panibagong tigil pasada. So, ayun yung inaantay naman natin ngayong araw.
Ano yung pinaka-assessment nila yesterday sa unang araw ng kanilang protesta? Did they feel na ito ay nagkaroon ng malaking impact sa mga commuters? And paano ngayon? Dahil ngayon ay holiday, 'di ba? Ano yung kumbaga yung mangyayari dahil wala naman masyadong lalabas ngayon sa kalsada para pumasok sa kanilang eskwelahan or trabaho?
Yes, Angela, kahapon, no? Bukod na dito sa ating mga chopper and kumausap din tayo ng mga commuter talagang ramdam nila yung itong tigil pasada ng grupong Piston dahil dun sa spot or dun sa site natin kahapon, Baclaran to Divisoria. So karapihan talaga ng mga estudyante, empleyado from south ay doon sumasakay at talagang nahihirapan sila sumakay ng jeep dahil iilan lang talaga yung bumabiyahe kahapon, no? At yun nga, at sana nga raw ayon sa mga tsuper na nakausap natin na dumalo doon sa kilos protesta or welga kahapon, sana nga raw pakinggan nila yung panawagan nila na lalong-lalo na sana tanggalin na raw yung value added tax at excise tax dun sa mga presyo ng petrolyo. Ito raw kasi talaga yung pangunahing nagpapasakit sa kanilang bulsa kung bakit sobrang taas ng presyo ng mga produktong petrolyo na nararanasan natin ngayon.
Alright, thank you for that, Mobile Journal. Francis Rivera reporting live from Mendiola.
Now, the Alliance of Concerned Teachers is pushing for higher pay and allowances amid rising living costs. Here is the report.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers is calling for higher allowances and salaries as inflation and rising fuel costs strain household budgets. Educators say their current pay is insufficient to cover rent, utilities, and daily expenses, especially amid the recent spike in prices caused by tensions in the Middle East. Among them is Wilhelmina, a grade 4 teacher at Acacia Elementary School in Malabon. She is a single mother with 2 children, one of whom is still in college. She said that after mandatory deductions in loan payments, she only takes home around 8,000 pesos per cutoff.
Mahirap, ang hirap talaga. Actually, lalo na ngayong nagkaroon ng crisis, itong gera. Ito, totoo lang, hindi na ako nakatulog eh. Alam mo, pumapanik nga ako kanina, nagsalita ako mag-isa, yung Lord, paano na? Paano na mamaya? Paano na bukas? Yung gas ko, malapit na mag-empty. Pag nga sahod mo, parang ako personally, pag sahod ko, naiiyak ako eh. Kasi binayad ko na, paano na naman yung pamasahe ko sa susunod. Ganong kahirap, napakahirap. Parang hindi mo na alam gagawin mo.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers is pushing to raise the monthly personal economic relief allowance from 2,000 pesos to 5,000 pesos.
Walang kapares no yung inflation at yung talagang silit ng presyo, pero yung sahod at economic relief allowance ay napako na at hindi na talaga tumaas. Now is the time, no? Yung crisis talagang ramdam, hindi lang ng mga guro kundi ng ordinaryong mga mamamayan na kailangan din ng suporta.
They also want entry-level teacher salaries raised from 31,000 pesos to at least 50,000 pesos.
Kung tutuusin talagang kakalahatiin na kung nangungupahan ng bahay at yung mga utilities, no, parang sumahod ka lang para makapasok ulit kinabukasan, no. Hindi naman luho, no, ang manawagan para sa disente at nakabubuhay na sahod. Matagal lang na pag-iwanan yung mga teachers natin. Sinasabing kami ay tagapagluwal ng mga profesional, pero hindi naman profesional. Busabos yung sahod ng mga guro natin. Ito yung makakatugon doon sa living wage, sa pagiging profesional namin at dun sa bigat ng trabaho na pinapasa ng mga guro natin.
The Department of Education said it will study the proposal but noted that implementing higher salaries is difficult at this time.
Dahil bagsak ang mga negosyo ngayon tapos pag nagmahala ng mga presyo ng bilihin, liliit din yung kita ng ating mga negosyante, liliit din ang babayaran nilang mga buwis. So liliit ang koleksyon ng gobyerno. Saan natin pagkukunan yung papasweldo ko natin sa teacher?
DepEd added that promotions for teachers under the expanded career progression system are being accelerated, with each promotion tied to a corresponding salary increase.
Year to year, nagtataas yan dahil may tinatawag na step increment tayo. So yun ang kagandahan yan. Kahit paano, tumataas ang sweldo taon-taon yung mga teachers, kahit walang widespread salary increase.
With us now is former Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro. Kong, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Angela and Angelo, for inviting me.
Of course, ma'am, simulan natin, no? Rising fuel prices, nagtataas na po ang bilihin. Kamusta na po ang mga teachers natin with these economic pressures? Alam naman natin also yung living costs tumataas at saka yung sweldo hindi tumataas.
Well, Angelo, lalong hirap na hirap noon ang teachers na pagtasyahin yung sweldo niya. So nakita ko nga sa video, no, yung mga sinasabi ni Ruby, ni Teacher Rose, tsaka ni Teacher Mina. Talagang totoo 'yon, no. Hindi pa nagkakaroon ng krisis na ganito, ay talagang tapos na ang sweldo ng ating mga teachers, 33,000, di ba? So
Yes.
talagang tapos ang sweldo ng ating maraming mga teachers.
Well, what do you have to say to that interview of DepEd Secretary Sonny Angara saying na medyo malabo, no? Medyo malabo ngayon muna na magkaroon ng pagtaas ng sweldo sa mga teachers because of what's happening right now sa situation natin with yung oil prices natin.
Well, siya nga ang nagpo-propose ng salary grade 19 sa mga teachers nung hindi pa siya DepEd Secretary kasi alam niya talaga yung pangangailangan ng mga teachers. Ngayon pa, no, Angela, na alam natin ang mga pondo ay karamihan ay napupunta lang sa sa korupsyon, no? Kaya parang hindi namin kayang tanggapin yung ganon na reasoning ng ating Department of Education Secretary dahil matagal nang nagtitiis ang ating mga teachers sa kakarampot na sweldo.
And can we talk about this personal economic relief allowance or pera, no? Ngayon po currently ang nare-receive ng mga teachers ay 2,000. Tama po ba? Ano po ba yung hiling nyo dito? Magkano po yung gusto po ninyo na maidagdag na maibigay sa mga teachers?
Yan dapat, Angela, no, yung pansagot sa inflation tsaka yung mga crisis, na kung ano man yung nararamdaman sa ngayon. 2 dekada na nakapako sa 2,000 niyang pera, no, personal economic and relief assistance. Kaya nga din na nga namin sana kailangan ng ayuda kung merong ganyang relief assistance. Ang gusto natin, 2,000 to 5,000. Kongresista pa ako, yan na yung ating proposal, no, 17th Congress hanggang sa ngayon. Ay yan natin, hindi ginagrant ng ating gobyerno from 2 to 5,000. So, meron ding, malaki, sinasabi dati ng dating DBM Secretary na may possibility na madagdagan ito. So, yun ang gusto ng mga teachers na sana ay, maaprubahan sa Kongreso.
Well, nagkakaroon po ba kayo ng dialogue between the Department of Education regarding these concerns?
Yes, Angela. In fact, hindi lang sa DepEd. Wala naman tutor ng DepEd dyan sa taas-taasan ng pera. Even the DBM. No, may mga dialogues din ang ACT tsaka ang ACT Teachers Party List sa kanila.
And ano po yung kanilang kumbaga tugon doon po sa inyong mga kahilingan?
Well, yung dating secretary, nung kongresista ko, sabi niya, every year yung 2,000 ay i-staggered para makarating sa 5,000. Mag-a-add daw ng 1,000. Pero ngayon, 2026 na, di ba? Wala pa talaga kami naririnig na konkreto at tiyak na, na pagdaragdag dito sa pera.
And you're talking about the former DepEd Secretary, which is Vice President Sara Duterte.
No, yung DepEd Secretary ngayon, si Secretary
Sara
Angara, wala siyang tutol na madagdagan yung pera. Former DBM Secretary,
DBM.
Amena Pangandaman, payag siya na madagdagan talaga yung pera at nag-iisip na nga siya ng gagawin. Pero ngayon nga, wala na tayo narinig sa DBM.
May mga ibang teachers nagsasabi hindi pa nga tumataas ang sweldo and yet yung mga workload nila tumataas dahil sa kakulangan minsan ng iba-ibang, for example, core competency ng isang teacher is math, may kulang sa Filipino. Minsan magdo-double time ang teacher na wala sa job order niya or sa work requirement niya. May namamonitor ka pa buong ganun nangyayari until now?
Yes, oo, meron, Angelo, no? Marami yan, kalat yan sa mga eskwelahan natin. Dahil sinasabi ng Department of Education, buti na yung merong tinuturuan kaysa wala. No? Kaya yung ganung mga pangangatwiran o assignment kaysa wala. Kaya dapat talaga, no, for example, ito, physics, no, 96%, no, sa EDCO nga sabi nga nun, hindi ano no, hindi biyasa sa physics yung mga teacher na nagtuturo. Kaya talagang malaki ang concern namin diyan sa mga ina-assign na mga teachers sa mga specialization na hindi naman nila hindi naman nila major. Kaya marami pa tayong namomonitor niyan, Angelo.
Alright. So with what's happening right now sa ating presyohan ng produktong petrolyo, syempre sabi nga nila hindi natin makontrol 'yon. What we can only control is how we respond to it, ano yung mga programa para sa mga tao. At of course, ano po ba yung sa inyo po sa mga teachers, yung nakikita niyo pong long-term na solution on this? Ang mga driver po, isang sinasabi nila, dapat daw po yung excise tax fuel ay mawala, yung oil deregulation law mawala. And right now, yesterday, na-cancel naman po yung pagtaas ng pamasahe. No? So, your thoughts on that po?
Angela, sinusuportahan namin yung panawagan ng ating transport group na tanggalin talaga yung excise tax at saka yung VAT. At idagdag na rin natin yung pag-iimbestiga sa mga malalaking oil companies na nagdagdag na agad ng presyo ng gasolina at iba pang petroleum products na meron pa namang stocks for 50 to 60 days, sabi ng energy department. So gusto talaga namin oil deregulation, i-repeal yan, taasan yung sahod, at syempre sa ating mga drivers, it's high time na taasan din yung pamasahe. Kasi naiintindihan din naman yan ng mga pasahero. Katulad namin, mga teachers, naiintindihan namin yan. At syempre, gusto rin natin talaga na may price control, no? Maraming pwedeng magawa ang gobyerno, kaya lang ang bagal ng pagkilos. Tapos, ang ating mga mamamayan ay sadlak talaga sa kahirapan. So, hindi kailangan din yung emergency powers kasi yung limited lang yan. Yung excise tax kasi 6 to 10 liters lang, 6 to 10 pesos lang yung mawawala. Pero kapag VAT ang tinanggal, malaki rin yung mawawala dun sa presyo.
Yun ang gusto ko itanong, ma'am, kasi yung VAT and madami pa tayo mga taxes all over different products na nakapataw, tax over tax over tax. Ang sinasabi ng iba, baka naman paigtingin natin, number 1, ang collection na lang ng taxes. Number 2, yung corruption, bawasan natin. Tapos, we were talking to Senator Bam Aquino the other day, yung corruption pa lang, pag natin, nabawasan natin po daw yun, baka naman we don't need plenty of VAT or EVAT sa mga produkto. Agree ba kayo doon, ma'am?
Yes, Angelo, di ba dapat ginagawa naman talaga ng BIR yan, ng BOC, yung efficient collection ng mga taxes natin or efficient collection ng ating mga pwedeng maging revenue. Kaya lang napaka-talamak talaga ang korupsyon sa ating bayan. Kaya ito yung nangyayari. Ang tinataksa ng malaki ay yung mga mahihirap. No? Kami din may proposal na tax the rich. No, yung wealth tax kasi 156 billion ang ma-generate diyan just in case. No, pero ang ginagawa kasi ay ginagawa nila yung tinatax pa rin yung mga mahihirap. Kaya talagang talagang malaki yung magagawa ng gobyerno kung titignan lang nila yung mga proposal namin, ang dami na yan na nasa Kongreso, na pwedeng gawin.
Well, you mentioned kanina yung nga pong paghingi ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ng emergency powers, both version ng House of Representatives and the Senate ay akit na approve na po, no? Antay na lang yung kanyang pirma, pero parang meron pong babago ng isip na parang titignan daw po muna, no, kung yun ay gagawin nila, babantayan muna yung world market. Your thoughts on that po?
Well, sa amin nga sa Makabayan, hindi kailangan yung emergency powers. Ang dami na ng mga pwedeng magawa. Kasi allergic kami dyan sa emergency powers na yan na ginagamit ng nasa executive na hindi rin naman nakakatulong sa ating mga mamamayan. Kasi katulad niyan, train lang yung excise tax lang from the train law ang i-address niyan. So marami pang dapat na i-address kung titignan ng Pangulo talaga yung mga proposal namin sa Makabayan na nandiyan na sa Kongreso.
Yung pagbawi po niya ng taas pamasahe na kakarampot nga lang po, piso lang yun. Pero ang naging dahilan naman po niya ay yung mga commuters. At ngayon po may 50% discount sa MRT or LRT if I'm not mistaken. Your thoughts on that? Well,
gusto nga namin sana, Angela, yung 5 pesos na increase sa ating sa ating fare na proposal ng piston. Kasi ang tagal na yung hinihiling nilang na yan. Tapos saka ilibre siguro yung LRT, MRT, yung mga buses na dapat na nagawin ng gobyerno natin sa ngayong crisis talaga sa ating mga pasahero. Kung talagang gusto nila yung benefits para sa mga passengers natin, di dapat may gawin din sila para sa mga drivers din natin.
Well, kasi kumbaga yung pag-suspende ni Pangulo ay parang makikinabang din naman po yung mga teachers dahil hindi po tataas yung kanilang panggastos po sa pamasahe on that side of that fence. Tama po?
Well, sa panahon ng krisis, Angela, nagtutulungan ang driver tsaka yung mga pasahero. Kaya katulad namin, teachers, naiintindihan namin yon sa kasi talagang ang laki na ng ibinawas sa computation nga nila, talagang 12,000 a month yung kanilang ginagastos doon sa pagtaas ng oil products. Kaya makatwiran lang ang kanilang panawagan.
Well, we are on our third week of itong krisis sa Iran at naapektuhan nga yung ating mga produktong petrolyo. Pero ganun din po ba ang epekto ngayon din sa mga teachers ngayon? Ganun po ba kabilis? Like ganun din kabilis sa sinasabi ng mga oil companies na kahit pangatlong linggo pa lang ay ramdam na sa mga stocks nila?
Yes, Angela, unang linggo pa lang ng pagtaas, ramdam na yung ng mga teachers. Itong pagtaas na ito, mga teachers natin napilitan na rin yang bumili ng mga motor yung mga lalaki. Mga babae bumili ng motor para nga makameno sila doon sa pamasahe. Ngayon third week na. Ngayon dapat may gawin na yung gobyerno para itong mga oil companies ay sawatain dyan sa patuloy na pagtaas ng yan. Kasi sinasabi nga, 2 buwan pa nga dapat yung stock, pero ang laki na nang itinaas. So yan dapat yung gawin ng ating gobyerno.
Sa tingin niyo kung ba't hindi umuusad ang diskusyon masyado regarding sa oil deregulation law?
Nakita ko dyan yung mas interest ng mga oil companies, yung dinadala ng karamihan nating mga kasamahan dyan sa Kongreso. Tapos syempre magiging rin yan, sinasabi rin nila na makaka-apekto din daw yan sa negosyo, etc. Pero hindi kami naniniwala dyan. Kailangan na talaga nating i-repeal yung oil deregulation law kasi wala nang control ang gobyerno sa presyuhan ng langis. Hindi na nare-regulate din. Hindi naman natutupad yung sinasabi ng oil deregulation na may competition, bababa ang presyo. Magdadalawang dekada na rin, na dapat na talagang i-repeal.
Well, one of the concerns nga po din dito is yung, of course, like yung nangyari ng pandemic na maapektuhan naman talaga ang education system na naman natin. This time around, dahil sa presyo ng fuel, ay nagkakaroon ng mga suhestyon na magkaroon ng work from home and, of course, study at home o online classes. Kayo po ba sa ACT Teachers Party List ay pabor doon sa mga ganong suhestyon para makatipid for the meantime?
Medyo critical kami dyan at hindi kami sang-ayon dyan dahil napatunayan na nga nung panahon ng pandemic na bumaba yung kalidad ng yung efficiency, reading proficiency ng mga bata. Kaya kung babalik na naman sa ganyang modalities, ay talagang poproblemahin talaga natin. Mas malaki yung magiging problema natin dyan. Doon sa mga proficiency ng ating mga bata. Kaya tutol kami dyan sa 4-day week at saka ang gagawin na naman nilang hybrid mode of teaching.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Former Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro. Good morning.
Thank you po. Thank you.
President Bongbong Marcos says the government will provide additional aid to public utility vehicle drivers. Now this comes after Marcos ordered the suspension of the 1 peso fare hike amid rising fuel prices. Marcos said the fare increase is only deferred and subsidies will be expanded to help drivers avoid losses. He added the government is still adjusting to volatile oil prices but assured that measures are in place.
So we're trying to find different methods para makapagbigay ng subsidy, para makabigay ng tulong. The problem is masyadong malikot ang presyo ng langis, hindi natin ma-anticipate. So we are still adjusting right now. Huwag po mag-alala ang tao. We are securing the supplies of oil. We are securing the supplies of food.
The country's farming sector is at a crossroads as an aging workforce threatens the future of agriculture. With fewer young Filipinos entering the field, government and industry leaders are now pushing to make farming more attractive to the next generation. Mobile Journal Daniel Dayo reports.
As Filipino farmers face an aging crisis, efforts are underway to encourage the younger generations to enter agriculture. Food production, rural employment, and the country's food system, all now at stake as farmers continue to age. Despite over 10 million registered farmers, the Department of Agriculture stresses the need for greater youth participation.
Yung sitwasyon natin sa sektor ng pagsasaka ay may challenge, especially on aging population with an average of 57 years old and also the low participation of our young generation engaging in agriculture sectors. Very crucial kasi sila ang magbibigay ng panibagong perspektibo, mga innovation nila. May maraming mga ideya rin ating mga kabataan.
And with the sector evolving, the Agricultural Training Institute is rolling out free programs.
Yung agricultural landscape ngayon ay evolve. Meron naman tayong mga smart agriculture, integration of information technology, mga data-driven technologies, and as well as climate resiliency. At marami pong programs, si ATI, for them to join and build a career in agriculture, particularly those who have innovative ideas to solve concerns in agriculture.
These programs include DG Agri Haki, where students develop solutions to real farming challenges, internship opportunities abroad, offering hands-on training in modern agriculture, alongside e-courses and support for youth groups like 4-H clubs. And for some young Filipinos, the shift is already happening.
I mean, any agriculture-related programs are very sulit. Talaga worth it. Ang daming fieldworks at talagang masasabi ko na buhay ang college life ninyo kapag tinake ninyo ang agri-related programs. So far, so good. Sobrang nag-enjoy ako. First sem pa lang nung last year. Talagang kahit mahirap, may mga scientific names na kailangan naming aralin. Talagang nag-enjoy ako.
Panood ko po yung pagtatanim ng lettuce. Start po ako magtanim sa 16 cups of lettuce lamang. Trinay ko po siyang i-post sa online. Hindi ko po lubos akalain na marami pong bibili kapag pundar po tayo ng sariling greenhouse at nakakapag-harvest na po tayo ng 400 cups of lettuce per month.
In the end, experts say, agriculture today is no longer just traditional farming.
Pag sinabi mo kasing agrikultura or agriculture sa kanila, madalas na ikakabit nila ito sa word na kahirapan, ay ito yung mga community na hindi sapat yung kita. Dito sa agriculture, hindi lang sila magiging magsasaka, kundi magiging mga agripreneurs na rin sila. Agriculture is very adventurous. It is not just a boring na magtatanim ka lang yan tapos na, no.
As agriculture evolves, the next generation is encouraged to step in, not just to farm, but to shape its future. Kapatid Mobile Journal, Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Escalating strikes on energy facilities in the Middle East are driving oil prices higher as the U.S. signals more war funding. Here is the report.
An explosion was caught on camera at part of an Aramco facility in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, an industrial site home to some of the world's largest energy and petroleum companies. Meanwhile, Iran's South Pars gas field, the largest natural gas field in the world, was hit by an Israeli strike, triggering a massive fire. In retaliation, Iran launched a missile attack on Ras Laffan in Qatar, one of the most important energy hubs globally, causing extensive damage. Following these developments, global oil prices surged, with Brent crude now at $114 per barrel, the benchmark for global oil pricing. Prices could climb even higher if tensions in the Middle East escalate further. U.S. President Donald Trump has called on Israel not to repeat strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure, as tit-for-tat attacks continue to drive global oil prices higher. Trump said the United States was not informed in advance of the strike on Iran's major gas field, and stressed the need to avoid further escalation that could disrupt global energy supply. Despite the rising tensions, the U.S. president also said there are no plans to deploy additional ground troops to the Middle East. But as the conflict deepens, the Pentagon is now seeking more funding, with officials saying billions of dollars may be needed to sustain current and future military operations.
As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded for what's been done, for what we may have to do in the future, ensure that our ammunition everything's refilled.
The peso has dropped to a new record low, heightening the burden of rising fuel prices and higher costs of basic goods. Here is the report.
The burden on the ordinary Filipino seems never-ending. Amid rising fuel prices and their domino effect on other goods and services, the peso continues to weaken against the US dollar. On Thursday, the peso closed at a new all-time low of 60 pesos and 10 centavos against the dollar. This marks the first time the peso-dollar exchange rate has breached the 60 peso level. This is also the first time the peso has hit a new all-time low in just the month of March. The first was recorded on March 9 when the exchange rate closed at 59 pesos and 50 centavos. This comes amid ongoing attacks by US and Israeli forces on Iran, which began on February 28. Economist Emmanuel Leco explained on The Big Story that imported goods will be hit first, especially petroleum. The problem, oil is traded globally in US dollars. With the peso weakening, oil becomes even more expensive. This is on top of concerns over possible supply disruptions due to tensions in the Strait of Hormuz.
Purchasing power of the Filipinos is being threatened in two fronts. One is the weakening of our currency, and on another front is the inflation that is being triggered by the continuing increase of oil prices.
With expensive fuel and a weaker peso combined, transport costs for goods are expected to rise further. In the end, it is the public that bears the burden.
The government will have to be more active, not necessarily on the financial or monetary aspect, but I think the government may consider doing more on the fiscal side.
For now, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas continues to monitor the foreign exchange rate. If the situation worsens, the BSP may sell US dollars from its reserves to help slow the peso's depreciation.
4 in 10 Filipinos said lowering food prices should be the government's top priority, a concern that has grown as the Middle East conflict pushes fuel costs higher. The Pulse Asia survey commissioned by Stratbase Institute found that 41% of respondents flagged food affordability as their main concern. Other priorities included eliminating corruption at 26%, creating more jobs and livelihood opportunities at 24%, and providing accessible education and healthcare services at 10%. Stratbase Institute President Lindo Manhit said the results reflect how geopolitical tensions are affecting Filipino households, with citizens increasingly focused on immediate economic pressures, such as food prices and income stability.
With the peso hitting record lows and oil prices rising, we now speak to John Paulo Rivera, Senior Research Fellow at the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, to help us understand the impact on Filipinos. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, John.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, there's a lot of things happening. No? It's a combination of the peso reaching a record low. You have gas prices hitting 100. Now, what can we expect in the coming days and weeks with regards to ano yung actually mararamdaman ng mga tao?
Well, so the direct effect of what's going on right now with the exchange rate is that imported items will now become more expensive in peso terms, particularly fuel and fuel-related costs. But I think that I have to emphasize this one. The more important inflation risk that our fellow Filipinos should watch out for right now is not the exchange rate by itself, but rather the oil shock that's going to happen. Because if oil prices would stay elevated, then it would just feed into transportation, which we are feeling right now, electricity, logistics, and eventually food prices, which would affect the results of the survey earlier that the Filipinos would want food prices to go down. And these are the effects that Filipino households would feel the most.
But I'd like to ask now, of course, in hindsight, 60 pesos to the dollar is not really good. But there's a few sectors in society that are, I don't know, the word was optimistic because, for example, yung mga OFWs natin remitting money daw, mas malaki daw ang take home na nakukuha ng mga families nila. Is this a positive or eventually mararamdaman din nila yung weakness ng peso?
Well, that's correct, no? In principle, that is correct because, yes, the remittances are now giving them higher peso value, but I just have to emphasize this one, that it is only for the short term.
Yeah.
Because as the effects of the oil prices, the depreciation would feed into other aspects of living, then we would now feel inflation and therefore the higher peso value of remittances would just be eaten up. So yeah, it's very short term, but the effects would be felt, no? In the long term.
Kumbaga parang nagba-balance out lang, ano?
It is indeed.
Kasi malaki nga yung remittance sa'yo, malaki nga yung panggastos mo. Gagastusin mo na din naman siya because mataas yung mga presyo. So, di ba? That happens.
Babawian ka rin niya after this short term. Yes.
But what happens or what needs to happen for the peso to recover, John?
Well, for the peso to recover, since, again, I have to emphasize this one, that what's going on with the peso right now, the depreciation, is not really a speculative attack. It is actually emanating from an external shock, which is not within our control. So the Middle East conflict, it has actually pushed these oil prices. So once the situation improves, then we should be able to see some improvements in oil prices and also in our exchange rate.
So the weakness of the peso right now is due to certain factors, but do you see it returning back to its 55, 56 level?
Well, at this point in time, there is still runway for the peso to go back, and especially when the situation improves. And second, when the BSP also intervenes to manage the effects of this depreciation on both importers and exporters. Again, BSP is in a tough balancing act of putting the welfare of importers, OFW dependent households, and exporters, so that after this Middle East conflict, then economic intervention within our control might be able to put back the exchange rate to the 50s level.
That's what I wanted to ask you, intervention, economic intervention within our control. If we do that, pero hindi mag-improve yung situation sa Iran, let's say it drags on until the end of the year, what happens to the peso now? What happens to inflation? What happens to our GDP?
Well, I would like to echo the pronouncement of BSP that managing the exchange rate, they're not anymore very particular about a specific level, but they are now trying to manage excessive volatility. And if the conflict in the Middle East would extend, then we would have to continuously manage the exchange rate through our monetary policy intervention and be prepared with our contingency policies, our reserves, just to be able to manage this excessive volatility.
Yeah, well, perhaps you can tell us also if the BSP or Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is doing enough on this
at this point.
At this point.
Well, at this point, no, the policy lever that the BSP is doing may be enough. But then, as what has been mentioned earlier, it has to be a full support, no, also by policies coming from the fiscal sector, not necessarily to manage the exchange rate, but also to manage our inflation, which is a consequence of this currency depreciation.
Pero Bangko Sentral could have not prevented this.
They can only manage. They can only manage.
Right.
So anong magiging impact nito sa, well, of course, we're taking a look at other issues na pwedeng tumaas, like interest rates. Do we see interest rates going up based sa forecast nyo?
Well, the interest rates, I mean, we're seeing that the BSP might be able to keep rates in the next monetary board meeting. It's because inflation has already seen an increase, a spike in recent months, and with the currency depreciation, we will now experience what we call imported inflation, because the Philippines is an import-dependent economy. So much of the goods that we would be importing now would tend to be more expensive, thereby will reflect to a higher inflation in the succeeding months. And with that, it would be prudent for the BSP to keep interest rates so as also to manage the demand side of the economy.
Well, with all of this that are happening right now, does this show you talaga that our economy is purely focused talaga on importation, kaya nangyayari to?
Well, bulk of the trade sector is through the importables.
Yes.
So while the currency depreciation may benefit our exporting sector, it is not as much as how we import. So the net effect would still have to be through imports, and we will experience this imported inflation because of the depreciation.
And several companies, especially sa food sector, have been importing, let's take chicken for example, have been importing chicken from Brazil and different places because mas mura siya sa local prices ng chicken. Now, do you see prices catching up with each other, whether it's local or imported, to a point na baka we can also source out to our local farmers?
Well, at this point, because this is a global event, it's a global issue, then other economies may also be experiencing inflation. And with that, they would have to pass through the increase in prices to their clients, to their customers. Therefore, the diffusion, there is this the transmission mechanism would definitely affect us, especially that we are operating in a globalized trading environment.
Pero can you paint us a picture that's something that our general viewer would understand? Now, what can we expect within this next few months? Kasi first, if you take a look out your window, di ba, traffic is less, 100 pesos per liter of gasoline. Sabihin mo na nga 10 litro ng gasolina, that's already what? 2-3 kilos of meat. Di ba? So, will this get worse?
Well, hopefully not, but this actually depends on how long the conflict in the Middle East.
So everything's dependent on the conflict. Everything's dependent on the conflict.
That's the central issue right now. Because it is actually the cause why there are supply chain interventions, particularly on oil, and all other industries in our country, particularly in our country, are highly dependent on oil.
Yun nga that's why. Pero sabi nga nila, meron kasi nagkakaroon ng comparison, like for example, in Thailand, sabi nila, bakit ganun? They're not really that affected dun sa nangyayari. Hindi ganun ka tindi nung nangyayari sa atin ngayon. So, other people would say, itigil na natin yung oil deregulation law. But we have to remember also before, yung Oil Stabilization Fund, nalubog naman din sa utang yung Pilipinas. So, where do we go from there? I mean, ano na ba dapat talaga yung tignan natin dito?
Well, at this point, I do not want to compare with other countries because of the fact that they have different economic conditions.
I agree.
But I guess we really have to focus on the local interventions that are within our control, that government can do something immediately, especially fiscally, just to alleviate the burden of this issue to our fellow Filipino.
How about looking for alternative fuel sources? At this
But
point,
that has been in the table before, renewable energy, alternative sources of
Biofuel,
fuel.
oo.
But then it doesn't come overnight. Now that has to be planned way ahead of time so that we also take benefit from it once these kinds of issues
And it's expensive.
yeah, but di ba, I don't know if you noticed, parang this government kasi has been reacting for the last 10 to 15 years as far as I can remember. Ang pinupush at sinasabi rin ni Senator Bam Aquino the other day, while there are short-term policies that should be implemented, there should also be concurrent to that long-term policies being implemented so that if something like this happens, baka hindi na natin kailangan mag-knee-jerk reaction.
Yes, that is correct. But I just wanted to also underscore this one, that as of the moment, for the immediate responses, government should always think about targeted
Yes, that's
and
right.
temporary relief responses instead of blanket responses. Because different industries, different sectors are winners and losers in this kind of situation.
Dagdag lang before that. Then should we revisit then yung fuel reserves natin, increase natin? Because I understand we have what, 30 days? 30 days reserve while Japan has what, 60 days ata. Kasi malaking bagay ito.
Yes, I believe I've heard earlier that the next shipment of our oil supply already coming, but then the issue of that will be higher prices. Because it's now being bought at a more expensive price.
Ay, ako.
Well, so siguro ano na lang yung kumbaga parang payo mo na lang sa mga kababayan natin in terms of what's happening right now, 'di ba? Hanggang kailan at saka ano pa ba yung mga dapat gawin?
What are the things we can do?
Well, I'll give two advices. One is for government, wherein I believe that the sensible response right now would be targeted and temporary relief instead of blanket responses. For our fellow Filipinos, we do not know when this will end. So a consideration about contingency resources, contingency fund, emergency fund would really be of help as we tread this critical economic issue for the next few months. Hopefully, this one ends soon.
So dagdag ko lang dyan sa advice mo, no? Now, is it a good time to invest or cash is power?
I think at this point in time, because of the very high prices, at this point, cash is still king. But if you have excess cash, then it would be worth taking advantage of the crisis that's going on as far as investments are concerned.
Depende pa rin yan kung anong i-invest mo kasi
Exactly.
din. Well, on that note, as always, maraming salamat sa iyong oras and for your insights. John Paulo Rivera, Senior Research Fellow at the Philippine Institute for Development Studies. Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Senate wraps up its first quarter session approving measures on social services, consumer rights, agriculture, energy, and economic reforms. Mobile Journal Marimon Reyes reports.
The Senate adjourned its session on Wednesday, closing its first quarter of 2026 with key legislative initiatives pursued. This includes passing measures expanding care for individuals with autism spectrum disorder, strengthening consumer protection, and granting flexibility to the Department of Education in implementing its curriculum. The upper chamber also approved resolutions resetting the BARM election, strengthened agriculture and food security through the passage of the Congressional Commission on Agriculture, Fisheries, and Food Security, or the AgriCom Act, as well as the approval of the Philippine Veterans Month Act, law enforcement of body-worn cameras, and the Free Overseas Filipino Workers Financial Education Act. In the nick of time, the Congress also passed a law giving President Bongbong Marcos Jr. the emergency power to either reduce or suspend the excise tax on petroleum products given the impact of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East that affects the market of oil, diesel, and gasoline. While it awaits its final transmission for the President's signature into law, the senators are also set to tackle amendments to the Biofuels Act of 2006 and the probable effect of importing biofuels to the sugar, coconut, and processing sectors in the country. According to Finance Committee Chair Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, around 400,000 farmers and processing plant workers of ethanol may be affected.
Kailangan pag-aralan kung tunay na bababa yung presyo dahil yung biofuels pag nag-import ka may blend rin siya no? So, kailangan makompute mabuti kung talagang bababa yung presyo. Unlike yung excise tax na clear na matatanggal 10 pesos or 6 pesos, ito is not so clear. Kung talagang sa pag-aaral, malaking impact sa consumers, pwede mag-special session. Committed ang Senado doon na magko-convene kami for a special session.
There was a lot of fear among our colleagues na affected talaga sila. Tsaka maliit lang naman yung mawawala sa presyo, di ba? Kasi maliit lang ng blend ng biodiesel at saka yung ethanol. So, our colleagues, particularly the minority and some members of the majority, wanted a longer discussion on the floor.
Related to petroleum products, with the rise of its pump prices in gasoline stations, CUV drivers supposedly expected a fare hike this week, but it was temporarily suspended by PBBM. This in turn made PUV drivers and transport advocates turn to the streets to rally for their causes. However, Senator Gatchalian has an assurance in mind.
Temporary lang naman to, no? Hindi naman sinasabi na hindi tataas, temporary. So, unahin mo na yung ibang mechanisms na hindi inflationary. Kasi kalaban talaga dyan, inflation eh. Pag nagtaas ng fare hike, sigurado ako itataas ng mga manufacturers yung kanilang produkto. No? Kasi pass on yan eh. Yung mga empleyado, hihingi rin ng additional sweldo para bayaran yung kanilang fare hike. Temporary lang to para mabigay yung mga ibang mekanismo tulad ng pantawid pasada at iba pang mga direct subsidies.
Meanwhile, Senate President Tito Soto also filed a bill repealing the country's oil deregulation law, which limits government intervention on the regulation of pump prices being imposed by oil companies. For other measures, Senator Joel Villanueva, chairperson of the Senate Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currency, also filed Senate Bill number 1983, which aims to strengthen the Anti-Money Laundering Act. This aims to give more teeth to the Anti-Money Laundering Council or AMLAC by responding to the changing financial landscape, meaning the entities subject to the AMLAC compliance requirements will include trust and company service providers, lawyers, and accountants engaged in specified financial transactions, as well as online gambling operators and virtual asset providers. The bill also sets an amount for cash transactions, which the AMLAC may investigate into if going beyond the limit. The AMLAC will also be given authority to issue transaction suspension orders, administrative freeze orders, and subpoenas in its investigations.
Money talks, but dirty money whispers, usually through complicit entities. Kaya kailangan po talaga natin ng isang mas malakas na batas para habulin po ang mga kriminal na pilit itinatago ang bakas ng kanilang mga transaksyong pinansyal.
Committee hearings in the Senate will still proceed according to its schedule, while the resumption of its regular plenary sessions will be on May 4, 2026. Kapatid Mobile journalist Marimon Reyes, we are One News.
Excitement is rising among BTS fans as they prepare for the group's long-awaited comeback concert in South Korea. Some lucky fans have secured free tickets to attend the kickoff concert in person, making the experience even more meaningful. Supporters are coming fully prepared, bringing memorabilia, light sticks, and themed outfits to celebrate the comeback. Meanwhile, fans in the Philippines and other parts of the world are joining in through organized watch parties.
Bilang Army, sobrang grateful talaga na mabigyan po ng opportunity na mapanood talaga sila ng first comeback po nila, tapos free pa. Ibang feeling, iba, parang alam niyo po yun, as a fan girl of BTS po, yung feeling po na, yung may iyak ka na at last makikita mo sila, totoo na, nalalabas sila, meron silang album, may comeback sila. Yun pong sa tinagal lang hinintay din natin for 4 years, finally po, matutupad na, makikita na natin sila at last. Nagpagawa ako sa cafe po, sa mga staff po, ayan. Gaya ito, nag-ready ako ng headband, kasi limited lang po yung pwedeng dalhin. Ngayon, yung release nila ng mga photos sa Netflix, ito po, pinagawa natin siya. So, ito po yung dadalhin natin. And syempre, nag-ready din po ako itong Army Bomb natin. Itong bagong release ng Army Bomb po, BTS Lightstick version 4 ng BTS po. Ayan. Tapos may mga OOTD po tayo, may mga damit tayong tinala. May ano din tayo, yung mga BT21 ng mga dinala ko.
In sports, key matches took place in the 2026 PVL All-Filipino Conference at the PhilOil Center in San Juan. The MX-led Chameleons kept their qualifying round hopes alive by rallying past PLDT high-speed hitters in 4 sets. MJ Phillips earned Player of the Game honors, finishing with 16 points on 11 attacks, 2 blocks, and 3 service aces. Meanwhile, the Choco Mucho Flying Titans claimed the 7th seed in the play-in round with a 4-set victory over the Zeus Coffee Thunderbells. Diana Wong stood out as player of the game after delivering 14 excellent sets and adding 5 points. Ang cute no ng BTS, nag-comeback na yung mga...
Galing kasi sila sa
Army service. But kita mo, no, yung mga Army, they're a little older now. But they're still loyal to BTS. It's so nice to see that. Nakikita, you feel how old you are pag kikita mo yung Army.
Army ka ba?
Hindi, si Rafa Army, daughter ko, di ba? Army. Mami mo Army, di ba? Army ba, mami?
Hindi ko nga sure. Parang, oo. Oo.
Sino kay General Bronner? Alright, happy weekend everyone. Thank you for joining us, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again on Monday. I'm Angela Lagmusad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are one you.
All sides, all the time.